Good evening, everyone. I am Sahaja. I will be dealing with environment and disaster management for UPSC classes. So I hope everyone here has at least started their preparation by now, or at least know that you are giving the attempt this year, or you are giving the attempt next year. What is the scene? So what is your stage of preparation? Are you freshers, or are you giving the first attempt, or you have been preparing for the past years and you are looking for some guidance here? Second attempt. Okay, you're all freshers here. Now you have already given attempts, so you want to value add your preparation. That is the thing. Online, are there anyone who is preparing for the first time? Okay, whatever is the scenario, I will assume that you are preparing for the first time, because there might be people who are who have just decided to attempt the exam, right? So let us start from understanding what is the mindset that you need for attempting UPSC. That is most important rather than what to study, right? So first, let us understand how you need to approach the exam. So what do you think is your preparation stage, whatever in stage you are in? Just before the exam, do you think that I need some more time to prepare? If the exam is postponed, maybe I will give the attempt more efficiently. Is that the case with everyone, or do you think I'm sufficiently prepared, I can give the exam this year perfectly? You're confident to give the attempts? Yes? So if you are very confident, then I think you are in the right track. Okay, there are first timers as well. If you're not feeling confident even after preparing, if you're still feeling that I might need some more time even after preparing for 1 or 2 years, that means there is some problem or some challenges that you're facing, or you're not understanding how to prepare for the examination. So first, the most frequently asked question, or what is the most frequently asked question is, what is the strategy? How to strategize our preparation? So let's say there is a conventional way of preparing for every exam. What is the conventional way? You will tell me, how will you start preparing for an exam? Any exam for that matter.
Syllabus.
You will start with your syllabus. So you will see what is the syllabus. Then you will start. Please speak. It's okay. Refer to the standard books. You are referring to the books. Next, you'll go with the mock tests. Then you will refer PYQs after you're writing your mock test. What is the next step? You will write the exam. You will revise the content next, and then you will go for the final exam. So our aim is to write the final exam confidently with 100% preparation. Am I clear? Is the board visible? Okay. So if this is our aim and we are doing this as your steps, is it sufficient or is it relevant for your exam? Let us understand how. For every subject, this is the conventional thing that you are doing. But let us see for environment in specific, which you can apply to all other subjects as well. So let's start with, my subject is environment and disaster management, as I discussed. So here, today's agenda will be, I will be discussing with you the syllabus, and then we will see what are the reference books that you need to refer. Everyone's second most asked question is, from where do we study? When we give you some references, the third question will be, is it sufficient? And especially for environment, all the students have this major question, from where are the questions coming? From where are the dynamic questions coming? Will we be able to decode how it is coming? So what is the process to identify which topics can come in the examination? That is the more challenging part for this particular subject, right? Static portion for environment, when you see it, it is limited in nature. You know that the ecosystem part or the biogeochemical cycles that are there, the functions of ecosystem, the ecological successions and the energy flow, everything is, you have been reading from your school days. Everybody is aware. But when you see a question, you still get confused whether it is right or wrong. So let us understand, we will decode that and we'll see how references are used, whether they are really relevant to the exam. Do they make any sense to us? We will see that also in our orientation only. And the significance of this particular subject. How is it relevant in the exam point of view, and why is this subject specifically relevant in totality? Okay. Then we will see how to approach this subject. As we have seen the conventional method, we will see what we will be doing in the last. So that is the agenda of the class. I hope I am clear. So let's, as we discussed, this is the syllabus. In the prelims section, you can see that it is written general issues on environment ecology, biodiversity and climate change. There is nothing in specific saying what are the sub-themes that are going to be asked. Now, if you see, biodiversity is one topic that will have so many things like species, the plants and the animals that are there. All of them are innumerable. I mean, you cannot count them. How many species are there? Now, you see the questions are asked even on the fungi, the bacteria, right? So, you cannot pinpoint and say this is important, this is not important. And you feel that biodiversity in itself is a very dynamic thing. So, how do we counter that? How do we be prepared for that? And climate change. Climate change is also a broader concept. Now, anything that happens, you can link to climate change. Be it science and technology, some development, you can bring the repercussions back to climate change and make it important. If there is some economic development, you can say the repercussions there and bring it back to climate change. So how do you say from which subject or whichever content you are reading, how do you say that it is not part of climate change or it is a part of climate change? That is another major challenge from this particular subject, right? We will address everything. And it is specifically written that we do not require any subject specification or specialization for this. That means he is saying you need to have a general awareness of all the topics that are mentioned. You need not have in-depth knowledge of it. So when he is saying it in the syllabus itself that you need not have in-depth analysis, how do you know what is the depth? Where do you stop it? Right, that is the first question or the challenge that you will face. You will say, where do I stop? I read I cut every paper cutting that is there in the Hindu, I paste it, I revise it, and still I don't find the questions that are coming. What do I do? Right? So let us see what is mentioned in the mains. In General Studies third paper, we have conservation, environmental pollution, degradation, environmental impact assessment, disaster and disaster management. From these two syllabus, particularly you will observe that disaster and disaster management is not mentioned in the prelim syllabus. That is why you do not encounter many disasters based questions in the prelims. But if the disaster management is so huge that is being caused by climate change, there might be a question in prelims. Right? Now if you are talking about bushfires of Australia, something like that, or this year or the last year we have been seeing that mass coral bleaching event was happening. So it was in news for the whole year. When there is a major event that is happening, that is a disaster or a climatological disaster that is happening, but because of climate change, then you might expect a question. So when you see a disaster question or disasters that are happening, you might think, why is it in the syllabus or why it is in the question paper? You should be able to link it, right? When you are reading any legislation or economic developmental project or a construction of a dam that is happening, you will also read about the deforestation that is happening, the number of species that are getting eliminated, right? Those are also mentioned in the same article of economy. That question might not be seen in economy, but it will be reflected in environment, because environmental impact assessment is a part. This is environmental legislation. We are dealing with the legislation part of the environmental as well. That means every policy act that is made and the schemes that are brought up, that is also part of the syllabus. The schemes that do not fall under economy, they will fall under environment. Right? So any amendment that is happening, any policy that they are making, any convention or any other strategies or policies that we are bringing internationally with India, everything will become important for environment and disaster management as well. Right? So you should be able to link environment with science and technology and economy. How do you know that? Because this is given in paper 4, the GS3 paper. Right? This is part where you have economy, science and tech and environment as part. Understood? So that is with the syllabus. We will move slowly from here. References, standard references, everyone everywhere will tell you NCERT class 12 biology. I must have read the biology, the 4 chapters of the biology like 100 times, and I still don't know from where the questions are being asked. Is that a case with anyone? Okay, my class will be interactive. I expect you to speak, because only when you speak I will be able to understand whether you are understanding or not, or whether you're following or not. When I'm explaining a concept, sometimes I assume, if you're not talking, I'll assume, okay, you have understood everything, then I'll move on. Okay? Yes or no? Okay, let's see. So biology, I will show you the examples like how they're asked with very recent, the 2024 paper, and you'll be shocked to see what kind of questions are asked from which part of the textbook. Okay, then for disaster management, everybody asks me, how do I read disaster management? Where do I have the content for mains? NCERT is having 11th class geography supplementary on disaster management. You know this? No. So yeah. You have 4 chapters. It has all the mitigations. You have the Yokohama strategy, all the frameworks that are there as well. So you can read it from there. Then you will have to visit the Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change for the latest information and the developments. For all the missions that are in place, the acts that are in place, the amendments that are happening, always refer to the primary source or the authentic source from the ministry website itself. Whenever you are reading interpretations from the newspaper, it might be a personal view of a person. So you will not be able to understand to write a view. It might not be relevant to the examination. Right? So all the students, whenever you are referring to this syllabus, you need to understand, or when you are preparing for the exam, you need to understand, you will have to refer to only the primary sources that are available. So ministry website for all the updates, for acts, policies and the schemes that they are bringing up. Any amendment? Yes, sir. Ministry website. Yes. There will be annual review. Yes, ministry websites will give year-end reviews. They are given in pib.gov.in, right? So that is Press Information Bureau. You will have to go through all of them.
What's the specific part to be referred in the website?
The specific parts, whenever you want to, for example, you want to read about lifestyle for environment mission. So where do you go? You go to the Ministry of Environment. You have a search bar there. You search life mission. You will get all the pillars. What is the objective? In which convention or in which COP meeting we have given this, or in G20 summit, wherever we have done, what are the developments from the beginning till date. Everything is given as a gist there.
What if I don't know what is life mission research?
You do not know what is life mission.
What if I don't know?
So you are saying, how do I know what are the contents that I have to study? That is the first. Okay, I will get there. I will tell you how to study syllabus wise as well. Okay. And apart from that, okay, Apart from that, you can see that you will have to refer to United Nations websites and reports. Now, what do I mean by United Nations websites? Again, the same question. How do I know? So here I'll give you a proper example.
Website contain a lot of unwanted.
Yeah, I will tell you. So if you are seeing this websites and reports, you have US EPA. Let me write it down for you. You have Environmental Protection Agency of US. Okay, this is a website. It is the government website of US. In this website, you will find A to Z topics on environment in the tab. Here you will have everything. You will have the gist in 500 to 600 words of every topic that is related to environment. Okay. Now, in this, the major topic that is covered is about the pollutants that are there. Okay. For pollutants, this website is much more useful because this year and the previous year, 2023 and 2024, all the pollutants, the PFAS and all those have come from the website directly from the infographic that is there in that website. So you can go through that website for pollutants and the pollution part. Now we know that we have WHO website. Even in WHO website, you have all the diseases listed in the About section. Right? In the tab, you can search it in the search bar about which disease you want to study. Whether it is eliminated globally or it is still there in India or not, everything is given there. So what is the status of it? Background, historical background. When did it, was it an epidemic? How did we cure it? Everything is there. So to what to study, where to study, how will we know? That we will see. Apart from that, National Disaster Management Authority website reports. Now, why do I say National Disaster Management Authority website and the reports that is given by NDMA? Now, whenever you see a question on disaster management in mains particularly, you will not know from where the question has come or what is the data that you need to give for a disaster that happened. What are the steps that are taken? What are the causes that actually happen for the disaster to happen, and what are the measures that the government is taking? So after every disaster, the NDMA will make a report of what are the causes that led to the disaster, how did the governance or the legislation amend itself, or what are the functions or the steps that it took to address the issue. So everything is given in detail for every particular disaster that is happening. So you need to, when you know that in news you have seen this year Kerala landslides. So you can go to the NDMA website and see if the report has come. For the lake outbursts of Sikkim, there is already report given. Right? So from where do you get the content that is authentic? That is from the government itself. So when you have to suggest measures, from where do you suggest the measures? From the website itself. Right? To understand from where you need to read, from where you need to pick the information is also the strategy that you need to build. Okay. Next, we have daily newspapers and down to earth. If you have not started reading newspaper, if you are still building the thinking that I can read some gist from the last some other institute's material or something, it will not work out. Because first thing, while reading newspaper, it will improve the speed of your reading capabilities of new things. Right? If you are referring a standard book, you might be reading it 10 times, you know the sentence formation. So when you read, first your reading capabilities will increase. When you see a new content, your understanding of the capability, that also will increase. Third thing is, you will be updated with everything that is there, even if it is not covered in any other institute's material. Right? We will, and for this particular subject, down to earth also, is a must and should. I say it is important because there are questions that are asked from when even a small article was asked from the down to earth. Okay, so when these are picked up specifically from these magazines, that means at least we should be able to see what are given as a gist. So this in down to earth, whenever you go to the website, you can see that the gist is also given. You can search the topic environment. In the tab itself, you will find different agriculture, environment, and other species, biodiversity, climate change, sustainable development, everything. So you can search on the topics and you can see the content from there. All the links or the articles that are related to that topic will be there one by one. Okay. So this is about the references that you will be referring. Now that you know from where to study, so why this subject is important in the examiner's point of view, let us understand. You can see that every year since 2015 till 2024, that the number of questions is more than 16 to up to 20 and sometimes 22, right? So it has never decreased, and overall the average will be more than 16. So 16 questions particularly from one part of the subject, or one, it is a too much weightage, and you know that you can solve the geography questions as well when you read the concepts, because the current affairs that are asked again are from here. You can solve the S&T concepts if they are linked, you can solve from here, because the current affairs questions which are linked with the S&T, the science and technology part, are again linked back to the environment. So when you are collecting the information or reading the information, you know it because of this technology, these are the consequences. So you know the technology as well and the consequences as well, right? So current affairs point of view, if you are linking, then the average will be more than 20 questions in every year, apart from environment. So we know that it is important, especially for UPSC, right? Apart from that, we know what are the major themes that are asked in UPSC. First is ecosystems. From the static part, you have seen more number of times the question is from ecosystems, the functions of ecosystems like the succession or the biogeochemical cycles, or the food energy flow, that is food chains, food pyramids, right? So these are the number of questions are more from ecosystem. So in the past 10 years, if you see, there are 8 questions just from ecosystems. And in biodiversity, you have 41 questions. So from this analysis, we can understand that the species that we are studying are important. So what species to study? How to study? Because the weightage is too much, right? And then protected areas. Biodiversity and its conservation is a single theme. We read it as a single theme. But if you split it just from the wildlife protection areas like the biodiversity hotspots or the Project Tiger or Project Cheetah, so from these particular conservation areas also, you have 11 questions. International conventions and organizations. Now what do I mean by international conventions and organizations? United Nations Environment Program, COPs. So now again, what is COP meeting? Conference of Parties of?
UNFCCC.
Yeah. Okay.
Those which parties signed to a particular convention, those parties when they meet, that is called as convention of parties.
Yes. So that means you have COP meetings for different conventions. So when you are saying COP meetings, you will say whether the COP meeting is you are referring to is the convention of UNFCCC or the CBD, the Convention on Biodiversity, or UNCCCD. Yes, so you have COP meetings for every convention. So you should be aware of which COP meeting you are talking about, of which convention. So the outcomes, the objectives, what are the recent developments of which COP meeting of which convention, you should have the clarity. So for that also you need to know the historical background of every convention. Why did they come into place in the first place? Right? How did they start? What is the convention and what are the protocols under it? Now, what is the difference between a convention and a protocol? Anybody? Anybody online? Yes, we'll continue. Yeah. So conventions and organizations, what is a convention and a protocol? That was the question. Online students, anyone? You want to answer what is the difference between convention and protocol? Convention leads to a protocol.
When COP members they meet and they sign on a particular agreement, that agreement is called as the Kyoto Protocol.
Legally binding.
Not all protocols are legally binding. There are protocols which are not legally binding. So once you have a convention on it, whenever you're meeting, as she said, yes, she's right. So whenever they're meeting, they sign up to achieve the objective of the convention. You will have sub dimensions which you need to achieve immediately. So for that you meet and sign up a different agreement which is called a protocol. This protocol is under the convention, right? So convention is a bigger subject, and under each convention you will have different protocols. So you need to understand under which convention what are the protocols that are there, right? So, and you need to link each and every development. So from the first convention to the latest protocol or the latest COP meeting, how has there been developments? What are the achievements that we have done? And what is the role of India in all this process? So these are the main things that we will look at, right? Okay. Moving on, next you have pollution. Pollution is again a major topic and you have 19 questions. Mostly under pollution you will see from static, you will have the eutrophication topic, right? The biological oxygen demand, what is the condition in a polluted lake or an aquatic body. So all these questions are again related to pollution itself, but this is the static part. Sometimes in the dynamic part, the most asked questions are on pollutants, whether they're talking about the aerosols that are there, on CFCs, or on the flame retardants that are there, the brominated paints that are there. So in what kind of products that we are using on a daily basis, what kind of pollutants are there and how is it affecting the health of a individual. So this is important for pollution. So that should be your way of looking at, because how do I know that these are the themes that are being asked frequently? When I see a topic like pollution, I know what to study, what to look at when I'm studying. When I'm reading a content, what are the key themes that I need to understand or have to look more carefully in that particular topic. So how do I understand all these things? For energy sources, you can see, and agriculture, and sometimes the terminology that is asked, like definitions are asked in this thing. So you are seeing that I am very confidently saying that these themes will be asked from this particular topic. These themes will be asked from this particular topic. So how do I know? What is the approach that we have to understand my subject or this particular subject? So what is the approach is this. I use PYQs for understanding what are the themes that are asked. I am not referring or I am not blindly saying that this will come. I am saying this will come because this has been coming since past 45 years. When we analyze, you see that the same themes are repeated most of the times. If not repeated, the options that are given are repeated. This is from the static portion. In dynamic portion, it is that there is something in news that is happening majorly, or it is very basic that you should be knowing, right? Only then it is seen in the exam. Always remember, like the normal notion that we have, that environment, anything can come, anything might come. Most of the times, 80% of the times, you can predict what might come. So again, this is not an exam where we need 100% marks. You know that the marks that we need here for this competitive exam is just qualifying marks, right? We should be aware of that. So always in holding that last mark or the last 10 marks, you should not be compromising the 80% marks that we know for sure will come, right? So that is the first step for your strategy. You should be understanding what is the objective of the exam. It is qualifying in nature, right? So when it is qualifying nature, you will focus on the questions that might come first, right? So you need to, while using PYQs, while studying PYQs, I will first see what are the core themes in each chapter. Like this. I know what are the majorly asked themes because of the PYQs. So I can draw a line and say from this themes, these many questions are asked. And that is why these themes are most important. Then how do I understand every sub-theme? Now when I say in pollution, pollutants are mostly asked. These are asked. This particular topic is mostly asked. So how do I understand the sub-themes? Where should I concentrate more? Where should I focus more? That is what I meant. To what depth you should be reading your subject. Where do I stop? That again, the limits are understood only when you understand how the PYQs are framed, or how the UPSC has framed its past year papers. We are not seeing some other board exams, or we are just not blindly saying this is the standard of the paper that is being set by the UPSC board itself. So understanding them, understanding the examiner's requirement is important for us to understand to what level we need to study each subject. Am I clear? Then how, the last question is, how do I connect the news articles based on PYQs? How do I know that if this is there in the news article, will it be reflecting? How do I know that? When I'm reading an article, can I mark it as a probable question that might appear? So this is the approach. To have that approach, you will have to analyze the PYQs. That is what we will be doing for you. Now let us understand. Now I have spoken in lengths and breadths that PYQs are important, analysis is important, syllabus is important. We are talking how to strategize the subject, how to prepare it. With examples, I will show you. Here you have a question which is asked in 2015. It is basic definition of ecosystems, right? Now, while preparing, I know if there is a theme that I'm reading from the static portion, you should be able to understand that the definitions can be asked. Can I say that from this question? Yes. Now if you go through the options of this question, the first thing says, no, I said terminologies are asked. They will give you some term and they will ask you the definition. So can I deduce that again here from this particular question? Yes. Now description, which one of the following is the best description of the term? Ecosystem. Ecosystem is a community of organisms interacting with one another. Is it true? So is it best describing the term? Okay. Then second one is saying that that part of the earth which is inhabited by living organisms. No. Then the third is saying a community of organisms together with the environment in which they live. Yes? Okay. The flora and fauna of a geographical area. So, do we know that why A is not right and why is C right?
They are only interacting with one another, not the environment surrounding them.
Okay. So that is why you are saying C. And what is your answer? Why is it not A? Why is it C? So that is how you will read your PYQs. Why not A? A is just a function of ecosystem. Interactions is a function of ecosystem. That is not definition. That is not describing the term ecosystem in total. Right? So the definition is a community where the organisms live along with their environment. That is the definition. Now environment has different functions, one of which is interactions, right? So that is why C is right and A is wrong. That means he might ask functions next of ecosystem. Or now, as you said, the flora and fauna of a geographical area is what? Biodiversity. That part of the earth which is inhabited by living organisms, what is that? Biosphere. So that means you know the terms, you know, now you need to know the functions of them because the definitions are given here. That might be a probable question in maybe this year, next year or third year. But while reading ecosystem or the static part, you know what to read, where to focus. Am I clear? So what is the approach while reading static subjects or the definitions or the concepts? You will understand by looking at a PYQ. Then next, in case of which of the following biogeochemical cycles, the weathering of rocks is the main source of release of nutrients to enter into the cycle. Now try to answer this question, online students as well. Carbon cycle, nitrogen cycle, phosphorus cycle and sulfur cycle. Why is it phosphorus? Why not sulfur? Why not nitrogen? Why not carbon? I must have referred to PYQs like 10 times because you are giving it in second attempts or third attempts. Okay. But why? Always you have seen the question and the answer. Right? Now you memorize the answer saying that it is phosphorus cycle. Now why phosphorus? Why not the other?
Carbon and nitrogen
The
are
gaseous
gaseous cycles.
cycles. The supplementary cycles.
So even without reading environment, I could have answered this. Right? So you know that carbon dioxide, nitrogen and sulfur are gases. So the cycle might not start from a solid rock. Right? It's as simple as that. Now to read, where do you read this? Where do you find such questions? Just by merely seeing the diagram of a cycle, you will be able to remember this. You need not go in depth. So do you need specialization for reading this subject when the static questions are asked on this level? Right? You do not need specifically in-depth analysis. What you need to know is the definitions. You understand the definitions, the functions of it. What does every term mean in particular? So how is ecosystem different from environment? Right? At what level food chain will start? There is a PYQ on food chain which asks that food chains start at population level. Is that true? If not, why? What is a population? We'll see that. Individual is group of organs, the human body or any body. Okay. Individual, group of individuals is population. Group of population is community. Group of communities is along with their environment that they live in. Group of ecosystems in different parts of the world together. Biomes. All the biomes together. Biosphere. All the different spheres, atmosphere, biosphere, hydrosphere together is the earth, the planet. Right? Now I am saying food chain starts at population level. Is the statement right or wrong? Is the statement correct or incorrect? Anybody online? Yes? No? Do we eat fellow humans? So it is not possible, right? So at population level it cannot happen. Only in community level you have different populations living together. Where you have herbivores, carnivores and energy can flow through systems. So this understanding is very basic. Now this basic question when asked in UPSC, you will find it difficult to answer because when you see the proper terminology that is used, you get confused. So it is important for you to understand each and every term. When you understand what community is completely, when you understand the term what ecosystem means completely, only then you will be able to understand. So it is very basic understanding of the subject that you need to answer such questions. This is the static part that we are dealing with. Now, sorry. Moving on here, 2024 question. Here is the question. Which of the following shows a unique relationship with an insect that has co-evolved with it and that is only insect that can pollinate this tree? Is it visible? Yes. Is it visible? NCERT biology textbook. And only if you see that mutual relationship between fig tree and wasp, and this is the only insect that can pollinate that tree, and there is a whole paragraph written under this picture about the relationship, and you think that fig and wasp, the correlationship or the thing that is asked here is from some newspaper, some news article that we have never read about, we have never seen. But you will never realize that as simple as this, reading that textbook, even if you read it 10 more times, you will still find new things. If you have just understood while reading, you have put your mind on a picture and what is written under it, that also must have solved your question. And 2 marks edge is a greater edge in the paper. So when you see the paper, you must have thought this has been in news somewhere that I have missed completely. Now when I say 12th class biology textbook, is it important to read? Was I referring to the pictures that were there, the description that is given? Am I confident enough? Am I well prepared for the exam? These are the questions that you need to ask yourself and refer. When we say NCERT is a standard book, it is a standard book. And it is a primary source and questions are asked from it for every subject, not just for environment. Right? Now, how do we select? Just now we have seen one question. This is another question from 2023 which said, which of the following organisms perform waggle dance for others of their kin to indicate the direction and the distance to source their food? You have different options. First thing you need to understand when you see question, who knows if an insect is dancing, or dragonflies or butterflies, why are they dancing? How do I care? Right? But firstly, pollinators are very important for agriculture. If there is a decrease in the population of pollinators, there will be a food crisis there will be a global food crisis, right? So that is the consequence of pollinators. I mean, if there is a decline in their population. So that is the impact that they have. So they are important. You need to know that pollinators are important, and you will know that pollinators are important if you have been reading the newspaper continuously. Right? Now in 2023, you have March 11, 2023, you have a news article saying unlocking secrets of the honeybee dance language. So there is a question. It is saying, and you know what kind of question is asked, whether it is dancing or not to attract for their source of food. That means they are asking about their communication and their nutrition, how their energy is flowing. Right. So that is also a concept. This is also a concept. So he is interlinking it with the dynamic part. Right. Now this year, okay, this is a PYQ that was there. Which one of the following makes a tool with a stick to scrape insects from the log? Okay, you have fishing cat, orangutan, otter and sloth bear. Right. Now, this same year, in December 2024 and May 2024, I have 2 news articles which are saying how furry sea otters are saving California's coastal ecosystems, and other one saying sea otters get more prey and reduce tooth damage using tools. If I think there might be a question on otters, like them, Can I ask, saying that here it is written, when not crushing prey with their teeth, which of the species float on their backs when feeding and use discarded bottles or something like rocks or shells to open their hard shell prey? Can I expect that question? Because that is the nutrition for them, what they're doing to get food, right? Now, why otters only? Why do I concentrate on otters? Because in PYQ, one of the options that they've given is otters. And otters this year is a critically endangered species for USA. And now, in this particular article, they said how these sea otters are saving the ecosystems by eliminating the green crabs that are there, which are alien species, invasively alien species. So they are protecting the ecosystems. They have a particular way of eating. So all the criteria are matching. Then I'll mark it as important for my article. Am I clear? So while preparing, I know how to mark the articles for preparation, which might come only when I know what are the PYQs that are asked in the previous years from the same board of the examination. Then my preparation will be complete. So let's go back and understand here the strategy that we will follow. First, we will refer to the syllabus, understand what is the demand of the exam, what are the important topics. Then we will read the PYQs, understand them thoroughly. If you are reading PYQs, that means you will know what is the PYQ, what are the options that are correct, I mean what is the correct answer, why are the options wrong that are there, do they have any meaning. Importantly for UPSC, no option is given like just like that. They are related to the question in every which way. That is why they are very confusing, right? So you need to understand why they are wrong, and if you need to frame a question from that option, what will be the next question that might come. So when you understand the theme, the core concept, the theme, the sub-themes that can be asked while reading the content, standard books, you will understand where to focus. What are the themes that you will focus? Now you will say the current affairs. Read the current affairs daily. While reading, you will know whether you will be able to connect that to the theme that is there in the syllabus or not. Are there any PYQs related to it or not? Are there any such questions of that particular species that are asked in the PYQs or not? This will be your approach while reading daily newspaper as well. If it is not matching the criteria, you can leave them. You will still be able to cover 80% of the syllabus, or you will still be confident enough to answer 80% of the paper. If you are leaving 20%, you revise these again and again. After revision, if whenever you are confident, then attempt the tests. Attempt as many tests as possible. In attempting the test, you will have two things. You will be getting clarity of where you are in your static, whether you have understood your static portion completely or not, whether your current affairs that you are there, you are able to retain or not. And if there are any current affairs that you think have missed and they think are important, you will cover them as well. So you might bring it up to 85 to 90% of confidence level of your preparation. And final exam is our objective. So that will be our strategy. And again, whenever you are I am saying read only standard books, refer only government websites, do not prefer any other material, because every time it is somebody's interpretation, it might go wrong, right? So that will be the strategy for my classes, and that should be your strategy for exam preparation for any subject as well. Now I'll take any other doubts, I will be taking now. Yes.
How many years of previous year questions we have to refer?
At least 10 to 15 years. Any other doubts? regarding to the subject or how the classes will go on, or any other strategic that you want to know?
These classes will
How these classes will be going on? It is mostly assumed that at least you have the idea of the exam and the basics are covered by you. So revision classes only is the value addition part we will be doing here. So what are the like as said, for prelims, what will be important in each topic, those will be covered for you. So you can confidently be able to attempt the exam without any doubt.
Do we get any material?
Material, again, no material, but I think the class notes should be sufficient if you have prepared for the static.
mean, you guys will be explaining by the way of PPT or some like this class subject wise to prepare notes in the class.
To prepare notes, we will give the basic definitions and everything in the PPT, and we will share the PPTs with you. Okay. And orally, if I am giving you any extra examples, you will be noting down.
And how this dynamic thing you guys will research and get it, like current affairs.
Yeah, we are updated. We read every day. That is our job. So we will be updated. You need not worry about it.
So
We will
I'm
do the
asking
research.
basically about all of this program.
Yeah, all the program, everyone.
Academic director something. So I was asking.
Yeah, so we have a research R&D team. We have run successfully all the test series in the city or in the state right now. So we know how to deal with PYQs and how to analyze PYQs for that particular board of the examination. So we can tell you that at least for the static portion and the dynamic portion, we will do the research for you. And every teacher that is coming here, standing in front of you, is aware of everything. At least that is regarding the syllabus, the PYQs and the themes that are to be covered. And they are aware of the current events that are happening.
And the duration of the course, ma'am, like you guys may be starting from February, first week or something.
Yes.
February and March. 50 classes means per day 2 classes.
Yes,
It's in 50 days.
Yes.
Around 2 months.
yes, that's all. Any other doubts?
And many
No,
tests
No test series as such. Matlab, based on this course, we will have a separate test series that will be running by the institute. But for you, if you would like to have some tests, you can let me know. I can give you tests on that particular topic. If I finish some
Please complete
completed, I can get you weekly tests or something like that, so that your concepts will get revised. Okay.